Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and knife lovers everywhere receiving this transmission. This is the Knife Junkie, and tonight I have a new cold steel knife to talk to you about. This is from the 2013 lineup. This is a new knife, and I just got it, so this is more of a first impressions. I have only carried it for one day, and I just want to let you know what I think about it so far. Now, this is an unusual knife for me to have. I love cold steel, and I always, since high school, have been into cold steel. And that was in the 80s, people, okay? So that's how long I've liked cold steel. I guess I have a little bit of irrational, what do they call it, product loyalty going. But, man, they just keep pumping out these awesome knives that are super strong. They have a lot of cool designs. And I've been taken in by a lot of their designs. This, however, was not one of them. When I got the new 2013 catalog, it did not turn me on initially until I started watching some videos online. And, there aren't too many yet, but from what I saw, I really thought I'd like it. So I got this today. I've only been toting it around for less than 12 hours, and I just wanted to give you my first impressions of this knife, the Cold Steel Code 4 in spear point. First of all, let me preface this by saying it's an unusual choice for me in that A, it didn't immediately turn me on when I saw it, and B, it's got a metal handle, a 6061 aluminum handle, and these days I'm so into G10 that I don't even consider aluminum handles or metal handle blades, because I think they're going to be too heavy. But from all indications, the thinness and the light weight of this, I believe it's a little over 4 ounces, really eased my mind when making the decision to purchase this. It was about $54. I got it on Amazon. And I don't have any spear point spear point style blades. Most of my blades are either Bowie or recurve or, I have some Tantos, but I've never really gone in for the spear point style blade. Even the drop points, I have a number of drop points, so this is my first spear point. And usually I'm used to a spear point being totally symmetrical from the center axis, and I think this might be. I've been holding it up to the light and trying to look at it in silhouette, and it appears to be totally symmetrical, but the grind line throws me off. This swedge is obviously not as large as the hollow ground area, and then the high hollow grind of it sort of throws my eye off when I look at it. But when I hold it up to the light and only look at it in silhouette, yeah, it appears to be spear point. So, what do I think of this knife? So far, I like it. I don't love it yet, but I like it. Do I want to get rid of it? Certainly not. Not yet. I never get rid of any of my knives, so what am I talking about? That's me being coy. But what will this be used for? Well, I think it will be used as my sort of in-the-waistband stash knife that I keep stashed away just in case, the world ends and I have to bust out a knife and start, hacking my way out of a sticky situation, which, has never happened. I guess it never does happen until it happens. And if it does, I wouldn't mind having this Code 4 on my hip. Let's get into it a little bit. I'm going to widen out. Now, the first thing that strikes me is the fact that it's got this aluminum 6061 aluminum handle scales that have absolutely no texture. It's actually quite slippery. I was in the car, and yes, I play with knives in the car. It's probably not the smartest thing, but I've been playing with knives for so long, I can drive and play with knives at the same time. So, don't call the cops on me, please. But anyway, I was flipping it open with my lurch and jerk. That's what I call it. I don't know what you call it, but where you just sort of lurch it forward, jerk it back, and the blade, through its own weight, comes out. And at one point it slipped, and I had it in my hand like this. Luckily I caught it before it gored my gonads, but I was able to catch it, but it was due to this lack of texture, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to super high textured G10 like in my Recon 1 here, which I just stripped. I think it looks awesome, by the way. The blade stripped. But, this G10, accompanied with the two finger choils, is really super grippy. I never lose my grip on this knife. So I was a little bit surprised. Not that I should have been, because there is clearly no texture, and it is very smooth to the touch. But still, that I was thinking, oh, well, that's not that instrumental in my holding onto this knife. And lo and behold, it is. So when using this knife, I'm going to have to take extra care in making sure I have solid purchase on the handle before I attempt anything. So you have that. You also have a very, very thin handle. I believe it's 0.3 inches, and that's going from Blade HQ's video where he took calipers and measured it. I have not measured it myself, but it is one of my thinnest knives, right up there with my Spyderco Uliza, which is quite a thin knife. And but the width, or I should say the depth, the width, I don't know, the distance from here to here is long enough that you get a good grip on this. This does not feel like an uncomfortable knife to grip. It's just a matter of making sure that you're gripping it tight and you're gripping it right. And I think this will work out for me. Now, if you look at the handle, it has, I've heard it compared to the, handle shape compared to the Recon 1. However, I think it's a little more similar to the Mini Recon 1, in that the Mini Recon 1 doesn't have this deep integral finger guard here. It just has this choil and then this swoop up to the blade, unlike this, which gives you a little more room here. I hope you can see the black on black my gloves. The reason I'm wearing gloves in this video is that I'm so crazy anal retentive about fingerprints on my blade, and this blade, as you can see, this 3.5 inch AUS 8 hollow ground spear point blade has a beautiful satin finish to it, which is driving me absolutely crazy, at least in the less than 12 hours that I've had this knife, because it is very susceptible to showing fingerprints and to showing every sort of blemish you can get on there. Look at the grind lines on that. That is beautiful. I mean, this is really definitely growing on me. At first I was a little, should I have gotten a... I've also had my eye on a Kershaw piston, which I most definitely am going to get at some point. But I don't know, something about this knife, seeing it online with this blade, got me to get it. So here I am blabbering about it. It's got the thumb studs, which classic Spyderco thumb stud, asymmetrical. This side is the screw side. This side is the deployment side, though you can use the screw side as the deployment side. It's very easy left-handed. For me, left-handed. You've got a two-way pocket clip. You can have it right side or left side, but only tip up, because real men carry their knives tip up, apparently. No, I'm just kidding. I carry my left-handed knives, if I have the option. I carry those tip down, especially the Spydercos. But I'll get into that at in another video. You've got this closed construction. It's a very, 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 very freaking stout Triad lock. Probably my most. I have a lot of Triad locks. I got to take these gloves off. They're driving me nuts. It is a very, very stout Triad lock. Of all my Triad locks, this is only second to my Spartan in stiffness and difficulty to actuate. However, the action on the pivot is super smooth. It is my most smooth lockback of any lockback I have. I can flick it open as if it were a liner lock. It's pretty amazing. I can't do that with any of my other knives. Now, I guess maybe I don't have strong enough thumbs. Yeah, I've seen people flick open their Endura 4s, on YouTube. I cannot flick open my Endura 4, and that's got a puny, weak lockback compared to the Triad lock. Not that I'm dissing the Endura 4. I think it's a freaking awesome knife. I love it. But it's not a Triad lock for sure. So you'd think it might open easier than this, but the fact that I can flick it open with my thumb really tells me that Cold Steel is working on its pivots. Or maybe it's the fact that it's metal on metal here and not metal on G10, with the blade against the handle scale / bushings in there. So, it came razor sharp as usual out of the box. It's centered perfectly. Well, I guess I should close it to show you that. Centering is usually not much of an issue in a lockback anyway. But one thing I did notice, the place where I work, we have a lot of machines that we have to keep cool, and so temperatures are subarctic in my office a lot of times. And I did notice that this pin that holds the Triad lock, or at least around which the Triad lock pivots, was rattling. You could shake it and it rattled. And I think that is because in the cold temperatures of my office, maybe the metal contracted and I don't know, maybe it shrunk ever so slightly. It's not rattling now that I'm home. It's fine. Another anomaly with this knife when compared to other Cold Steel knives is the pocket clip. Not only do you not have to take the pocket clip off and sand the surface beneath it so that it doesn't shred your pants, but listen. You hear that? It's loose. There is a slight space between the handle scale and the pocket clip. Usually with the Cold Steel pocket clips, they are so tight. They are so tight that it takes work to get them not to be so tight. This is almost a little loose. I'm not sure if it's disconcerting or not. But I have worn it now in 3 pairs of pants. The pants I wore to work, sweatpants when I came home, and then pajamas recently. So that's 3 different thicknesses, and this has fit perfectly over all my pockets and retained pretty well. I'm sorry. So I don't think I have to do anything to that. If I do, I'll take it off and I'll bend this right here a little bit and then tie it back, or screw it back down. One thing I do like about the Cold Steel pocket clips, small as they are, well, 2 things. First of all, they're discreet. You see a small pocket clip, you don't really think of a large knife. You think of a small knife, A. And B, they are very deep. Let's compare that to, say, this Spyderco pocket clip. Okay, let's see if I can make this work here. There's a lot more space between the handle scale and the main surface of the pocket clip. And I like this because it accommodates thicker pockets. If you're wearing Carhartts or khaki pants with a thick seam, with 2 layers of fabric folded over and sewn, this will slip over that and it won't pull the clip up all day long. Whereas sometimes I'll wear one of my Spydercos on a thicker pair of pants, and the clip will be like this all day, kind of riding up like that. And I'm sure it's not a problem, but in my mind, I always imagine that I'm stretching out that pocket clip, and next time I use it, it's not going to be as tight. And next time I use it, I'm going to lose my knife. I know, it's ridiculous. this ridiculous paranoia that only a junkie would conjure up. But, you know, it is something I think about, so it's valid. This knife has a, you know, it's sort of ornamental jimping. I mean, to me at this point, this is ceremonial only. This jimping here does absolutely nothing. But, you know, whatever. It looks good. I'll probably put some skateboard tape here just to give it a little... I mean, there is no gription here at all. This is all about the choils and the ergonomics of this handle. That's the only thing keeping it in your hand. Especially if you get blood and sinew and guts and oil and all those nasty things you're going to get on this knife, you know, when you're in the many knife fights you get in. So, you know, maybe some... I don't want to crap up the design by putting, you know, friction tape on the sides here. Though I've been thinking of it, because when I try and remove it from my pocket, it's, you know, definitely have to squeeze hard. And if you squeeze hard on the clip to pull it out, it makes it even harder to pull it out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll put something there, but I kind of want to keep it simple and clean. All right, well, I just filled up my other memory card with my blabbering. And all I was doing was coming to the conclusion, you know, do I like this knife? Oh, let me wipe it off on my shirt. I hate fingerprints. Well, I think I like it so far. I think it will have limited applications, though I think I'll probably tote it quite a bit because it's so thin I can forget about it. And yet it's a large 3.5 inch, you know, pretty large and capable blade, and with that Triad lock, I know that, you know, it'll be stout enough for anything I need it for. I'm not a soldier, and I'm not, you know, a law enforcement officer, and I don't find myself, you know, pitting my life against someone else's with a knife. So I think it will work fine for my purposes. If you are looking for a dedicated tactical knife or self-defense knife, this might not be the thing. And the only reason I say that is because it is a little slick. You know, there really is nothing aside from the stellar ergonomics to keep it in your hand. There is no jimping, there is no texture in the handle scales. So if that's an issue for you, I might say, you know, move on. Maybe try a Recon 1 or, you know, just something else. But other than that, for an everyday carry, large everyday carry, or everyday stash knife where you're just going to stash it in your waistband just for that horrible moment you might need it, I would say go for it. It's a pretty sweet knife. These are my first impressions. And I really like that satin blade, though. As I said, it drives me nuts with the fingerprints. Yeah, well, I think that's all I'm going to say about this knife. Cold steel, code 4 in spear point. All right, I'm the Knife Junkie, and I have enjoyed this little conversation we've had. Have a good night.